Hey, and welcome to this review video. Let's talk a little bit about bass traps today, and why you might want to invest in bass traps for your listening environment or for your recording studio or mixing room. It's coming up now. So bass traps in general are used in recording studios or mixing rooms to get not really rid of, but to have a little bit more control over the bass frequencies in a room. In my room, for example, I have, as you can see, some normal sound absorbers that deal very good actually with higher frequencies and the mid frequencies. But bass frequencies is always a little bit tricky because by nature, the lower frequencies have quite a long wavelength, and they tend to be really prominent in the corners of a room. So when you mix in the room and you have a bass buildup in the room, you tend to reduce the bass in your mix. And this is a problem because when you export your mix and you go into another room in your car or something like that, or you check it with your headphones, you might find out that, well, there is actually no bass or too little bass in the mix. And that's why you want to control the bass frequencies to have, most of the times it's not really possible, but you may want to have a controlled frequency response over the whole spectrum. So meaning from 0 to 20,000 hertz, for example. If you want to tackle bass frequencies, you really need thick absorbers, especially for frequencies from 0 up to 60, 70s. You really need thick, so-called, for example, super chunks, probably half a meter thick or something like that, that you can put in the corners. The problem now here is in this room is a rented room, and I'm not allowed to do any construction work here. So I searched a little bit around on the internet what I can do, and I came about a company that is called Addictive Sound. They are from Poland, and they make these round cylindric bass traps, which are actually quite heavy. I think they weigh around 9 kilos or something like that. They are approximately 1 meter high, and the diameter is 30 centimeters. So the surface is actually hard. I don't know if you can hear that. Addictive Sound says that the bass frequencies will go through this layer of this hard layer, and the higher and mid frequencies have kind of like another diffusion. So that's actually quite interesting. And of course you can stack them, so you can start from the ground and make your way up to the top of the room, which you actually should do. I have ordered now 4 of these traps just to see how they work, but maybe I get another 2 for the front side of the room to reach the ceiling. But for now, 4 will work quite well. And the problem here in my room is I did a little bit of a test with the REW software, and the reverberation time, the RT60 test, was actually quite good, but not in the lower frequencies. High frequencies I tackled it quite good, but the lower frequencies, especially from 250, 200 down to 0, is a problem. And that's why I got those bass traps. So maybe let's have a look at it, what the company says. As you can see in the sound absorption, so in this diagram here, the frequencies, it starts around 250 and then it goes up to 125, and then it slowly goes down. As I said in the beginning of this video, for the very low frequencies, 0 to 80, you really need thick bass traps, so super chunks. So by nature, this is not possible in my room because I can't do a lot of construction work. And the EBU standard says that it's actually quite okay to have a little bit of a higher reverberation time in the lower frequencies. Always a good starting point is 0.3 seconds over the whole frequency range, but the tendency with the low frequencies, you might go up to 0.35 or 0.4 seconds reverberation time. So I would now say, let's see in my testings with the REW test, how it looks without bass traps and with bass traps. So here is the RT60, the reverberation time test. The blue line is without bass traps and the red line is with bass traps. And as you can see, it also did a little bit to the higher frequencies, which I suppose it has a little bit to do with the diffusion. But the frequencies that I hoped that it would tackle the most, it actually did it. Starting here around 350, it really went down nearly to 0.3 seconds. And it's also quite good actually up down to 90 hertz, which is actually quite surprising to me. And this is what I actually wanted to do. As you can see, 80 and below, it didn't do too much. So as I said in the beginning, to tackle those frequencies, you really have to get really thick bass traps. But as the sound absorption shows on the Addictive Sound website, the main frequency that those bass traps deal with are 250 down to 100, 120. So this is actually really promising, and they do what they're supposed to do. So let's look at the waterfall diagram with no bass traps. So as you can see, higher and mid frequencies kind of like even, but as we get in low frequencies, we have quite some peaks and valleys, especially in the low frequencies, 100 and 80. And we have quite a bit of a buildup around 200. And now let's look at the frequency with the response with bass traps. High frequencies and mid quite the same, but we have a little bit lower peaks in the 200 and also in the 100 hertz range. 50 again, 40 and 50, always a problem, but I just have to deal with that for now, at least. Let's look again with no bass traps. And as you can see, the different, so that's with bass traps, and that's without. So it did quite a bit. And again, with the RT60 test, this was actually the outcome that I kind of like wanted to have. So to deal with frequencies 250 down to 100, there is quite a lot of, when you think of mixing muddiness and kind of like muffled sounds. So if you can get rid of this frequency or to get a little bit more of a coherent frequency from 100 up to 20,000 hertz, you are actually in a very good starting point. And with the very low frequencies, again, big fat bass traps is the solution here. All right, so what can I say now in conclusion? So to sum everything up, Addictive Sound bass traps, they do what they are supposed to do. Especially they say on the website the frequency that they're dealing with, and they actually do it. So there's a thumbs up from me. And the best thing about it, I think they are probably the cheapest manufacturer that makes cylindric bass traps. They come around 84 euros, I think, per bass trap. And this is actually quite a great price, and they look quite tasty. There's also another version of them, which is a little bit more kind of like the luxury version. I think they have another top, wood top, and they just look a little bit better, and they are a little bit more expensive, but again, not that much. So all I can say is they are actually quite good, and I probably get 2 more bass traps in the future. I have to do a little bit more tests, what I can do with the very low bass frequencies, but actually I'm quite surprised by those bass traps. So thanks for watching. In the description below, of course, is the link to the Addictive Sound website. So check the bass strips out if it's something for you and you want to get them for your studio. As always, please subscribe if you want to see more videos like that in the future. I'm Marty, thanks for watching, and see you in another video.